All right. All right. All right, great. So welcome to Raptor Coders full stack software development by Raptor Coders. This session is being recorded. All right. I have prepared some slides, but it's not going to be about slides only, but slides are only the starter. But then there'll be a hands-on session on getting our hands dirty, kind of learn and do together and see what do some coding on the first day already. All right. So anytime if I'm going too fast or if you don't understand anything, please stop me and ask me any question that you might have. So feel free to stop me anytime, no problem at all. My intention, my goal is to make sure things are easy for you, and I'm explaining things that are confusing you. All right. So let's move forward. Today's agenda. So let's talk about it a little. So we're gonna define the high-level project goal. So this is actually the first day of full stack software development. So we want to know that what we are going to build in the end of the day, right? And at the end of the day, we're going to build a Twitter-like web application, a Twitter-like web application. So definitely Twitter has tons of features, right? We can't really, it's super hard to build a Twitter, exact clone of Twitter in just a matter of a few weeks or maybe a few months, right? It will probably take years of work by professional software engineers, but we will try to go as close as possible with all the experience and learning that we are going to have in this session, in the upcoming sessions as well. So now building a Twitter-like web application is the goal. If you understand the Twitter, the kind of work that this will involve the front end development and also back-end development of it. Now, what do I mean by front end and back-end? So we're going to explain that as well. I have some slides. So we'll be doing full stack development that involves front end and back-end development. Right? Also, we'll be integrating with database and so on. Learning MongoDB as part of this project. So so that's the goal. Like, we understand what we want to do, and based on that, we kind of start, bringing the puzzles and kind of match those puzzles as we go. All right. So a little bit about SDLC. Now, what is SDLC? SDLC is basically means the software development lifecycle. Now, we are building software here. I don't want to become. I want to be very academic as we are learning things here, right? But it's super important. It's not very complex either. It's super important that we understand the basics of software development lifecycle. I'm not going to take like 1 hour there, maybe 5 minutes, or maybe 9 minutes, or 10 minutes, just to give you some idea about what do I mean by software development lifecycle. A software development has a lifecycle that needs to be followed in order to build, quality software. So we'll just take a look at that. It's not going to be boring. High-level requirements. High-level requirements is, I know that we want to build a Twitter-like web application, but can we actually talk about those requirements? So this is an initiative to kind of start discussing about those requirements, kind of make sure that we all understand what do we mean by building a Twitter-like application? What does it take? What is in the front end? What is in the back end? Why do we need database for? So we'll entertain all those questions there as well. Now, then we'll have UI design. Now, UI means user interface. As a user, the interface that I'm given is the UI. For example, if you go to facebook.com, then you are given a page. That's the interface that, that's what we call UI in short term, or user interface. If you go to twitter.com, the interface that is given to you on a browser or even on a mobile phone, that's the user interface. But for our web application, we also need a user interface so the user can interact, right? So that's something that we will show you. I'll show you. I designed some mock UI for you so that you can understand that where we are going. At the end of the day, how our application will look like. We'll run our first application as backend. Okay. Now, so many things. Flask application as backend, right? Now, Flask application is a Python library, essentially, that allows us to run the backend. Okay, what is backend? We'll talk about it. But I don't want to go into Python details, show you variables and blah, 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 and so many details, and this will become really boring. So we'll introduce Python complexity as we learn. All right. So it's more, so you understand that why we need certain things, why we need, for example, variables, why do we need strings, and why do we need to like trim the string, for example, and so on, right? So as we face the problem, we'll bring the tools on board and we solve the issue. Okay. And then we'll have a, we'll build we'll do the first, build the first Flask application, and then build a quick tweet form. The tweet form is just, it gives you a form where you can write your tweet and you submit, and the server side will handle that, right? So that's super simple. Trust me. Okay, that's super simple. We'll be learning that today. And access the data from the backend. So whatever tweet we submit, imagine I'm saying that it's a beautiful, happy Sunday, and I submit as my tweet, and the backend will take this data, take this information, and say that, hey, I got this data, I got what you submitted, right? So it's kind of an interaction between, kind of gives you a taste of front end and back end. Front end and back end. Front end is sending the post, allows you to, giving you an interface to send the data, and the back end is kind of grabbing the data and showing you, I got the data, right? So we'll do that. We'll also introduce text boxes, buttons, and forms, because we need to submit some data to the backend. Okay. Now, we'll talk about some post requests. You don't have to understand now what is post request. I'll explain that. That's super easy. And then there are some good to knows, like what is single line comment and multi-line comments. And then we'll have a QA session. This session is, I booked it for 1.5 hours. So it should end around 12, but if it goes slightly above 12, I'm fine with that. Okay. So let's move forward. All right, a little bit about me for people who didn't join the day one. My name is Ahsanul Chaudhary. You can call me Ahsan. I'm a professional software engineer. I've been doing software engineering for the last 15 plus years. I'm a big fan of Python. I do JavaScript every day. That's my like kind of soul bread earner for me. I like Arduino, Raspberry Pi as well. So I build like small robots here and there with my kids, and I do Kubernetes. Kubernetes is a very modern technology for building and deploying your applications. Raptor Coder is for making code easy for everyone. So I named my group Raptor Coder. And then I'm new to Canada. Okay, I'm pretty new. I like to code and build IoT project. I'm still learning English, so I may not be as professional as the Canadians. I'm father of 3 kids, and as far as my education is concerned, I have a bachelor's degree in computer science from the University of Derby, first class. I'm a Scrum Master certified. I'm an AWS certified DevOps engineer for people who know what is AWS is, and I'm also Red Hat 6 certified engineer. All right, so let's move forward. Any questions so far?
No.
Take it as a no. Okay, thank you. Software development lifecycle. So what is this? Okay, now every software that we build, whether people follow the lifecycle or not, the lifecycle is there. Okay, a software, when we want to build, we want to understand what the requirement is, right? End of the day, what are you building? Imagine it's a Sunday and we want to like go from Toronto to Quebec, right? Before we start for Quebec, maybe it's very important for us to know that we want to go to Quebec. Otherwise, which direction do we go to, right? So that's the kind of the requirement, that what do we want to build? And the requirement needs to be pinpointed so that we don't take a different route and end up somewhere else. Like build something that no one wants, right? For example, setting the GPS address on your Google map will give you exact path to get to your destination, right? So that's kind of understanding the requirement. Every software building should have that kind of requirement. A better understanding of requirement will end up better or more accurate software that you wanted to build. There are many times in history, people wanted to build A, they actually built B, which no one wanted. People wanted to build orange, but the developers ended up building an apple, which is still edible, but not really something that the customer wanted, right? So that's the requirement part of it. We will understand a little bit of requirement today. And the very, very high level requirement is that we want to build a Twitter-like web application, right? Once we understand the requirement, we need to do the system design, okay? System design means that For example, I'll simplify that. What are the components of my Twitter-like application? Now, we already talked about that we need a front end like Facebook, where people can come and type their tweets and submit. That's kind of system design. That's part of system design. So we do need a. Then we submit that. That goes to backend. The backend is Flask. That's some kind of system design. We need a database in order to store the tweets, right? Don't you want to store it somewhere? The data needs to be stored. So we need a database. And the database that we are going to use is called MongoDB. It's very, very famous database nowadays. Okay. So this is kind of system design. We'll talk about it in more detail. Then we implement. Implementation is the time when you actually start coding, right? Actually start coding. That's the implementation time. Now, we don't want to make things really boring and do all the requirements engineering first for a few days and then do the system design for a few days. This is boring, okay? I think what is more fun is to like do all of this in 1.5-hour session, right? A little bit of requirements, a little bit of design, a little bit of implementation. What is testing? Now, testing is, as you're building software, it's important that you test your software. Otherwise, after a long time, you'll know my software doesn't work, right? That's probably not good, right? It's like you wanted to go to Quebec, and after a few hours, you see that, oh, you took a different route. That's total loss, right? So incremental testing, or more, as we test, more testing is better, right? More testing is better to make sure that we are on the right path. Then we do deployment. Okay, you built your software. Do you want to use it only, or you want to let people build it, use it, right? I mean, do you want to have the software built on your local computer, or you actually want to go to the internet and let people use your software or web application? When you deploy or when you launch your web application on the internet, this is called deployment. Okay, and we'll deploy our software today as well, and we'll see that's going to be super easy for us. But deployment is a little more involved, and we'll learn what it takes. Then we'll do maintenance. Have you ever seen a website says the website is under maintenance? Sometimes I log to my bank and it says it's running under maintenance. They're doing some kind of backup, clearing things up, clearing cache, and blah, blah, blah. That's maintenance. That's part of software lifecycle, software development lifecycle. Any questions so far? No. Great. I'll take it as a no. So I'll just move forward. I know it's a mouthful, but I just wanted to give you a basic understanding of what it might look like. In future, we'll talk about it as well. So you'll, so it becomes more clearer to you. I'll go to the next slide. Now, the high-level project requirement. This is kind of the first thing that we talk about, requirement analysis. Now, this is a super basic form of requirement analysis, but at least something about requirement. So I think we all know that in order to tweet, we need to log in, right? Who is tweeting, right? We need to know who is tweeting so that we can show people that Hassan tweeted this, right? So we need to build a login system. So we need a login system. Now, in order to log in, before we can log in, don't we have to allow the user to register? Normal. You register first. You sign up first, and then you log in. So we'll need a registration system and a login system. No brainer, right? Then after registration and login is done, you want to let the user to submit his tweet or her tweet, right? So there should be some kind of interface where type the tweet and submit. Third requirement. Then the fourth requirement. Imagine we don't want the user to submit a big essay or an entire book size of text in your tweet. That's going to be a super big text for people to read. So we want to limit that to 250 characters. No more than 250 characters allowed. Okay, but just a requirement that imagine our Twitter-like app will have. And then we will show, well, after the tweet has been submitted, we want to show the user a list of, I may have 5 tweets in the past history. I may have 10 tweets. There should be a page where I can see that, hey, what are the tweets that I have so far posted? So there should be a page where I can see all my tweets in the past history. Okay. Then there should be a page where there will be a list of people that we can follow. I can follow Justin Trudeau. I can follow, imagine Joe Biden, right? There should be a list of people that I can go and say, I want to follow this guy. I want to follow, follow this user. All right, so that's the list of people where we can follow. We can follow and unfollow people. Imagine I don't want to follow, someone anymore, so I should be able to unfollow the user. So these are the things that we are going to build, right? And then show tweets from people we follow. If I'm following Joe Biden and he posted something, that should show up in my feed, just like how what happens in Facebook, for example, or in Twitter, exactly the same way. Now, we also want to show some famous tweets. Have you ever seen on Facebook or Twitter that you didn't really subscribe to someone, but the tweet is still showing up? It's probably because it's super famous, and Twitter just wants to make sure that you don't miss it, right? So we want to see the famous tweets. And finally, just build a small footer, which is just part of as part of the completeness of the web page. So far, any question? Do you think I have missed anything basic? I'll take it as a no. All right, then let's move forward. So now this is the UI design part. So we talked about the software requirements, and now we are doing system design. Now system design and kind of UI design is part of system design. So we are now kind of I built a sample mock user interface that will give us an idea of what our application might look like. Okay, so let's go together and see that what we are going to build in the next few weeks. All right, so you can see that there is a bird sign, and it's called Raptor Twitter. So we name our Twitter web app Raptor Twitter. Okay, and then on the top right corner, it says that welcome and then my name. So if I'm logged in, it will say welcome Hassan, and then there'll be a log out button if I want to log out from the system. So that allows me to log out. Okay. Then I can see there are 3 tabs: home, your tweets, and people. Home is the tab that is by default selected when the user logs in. Okay. Allowing the user to do what? Giving a text box. You can see the big text box, your tweet here. It says what's happening, your tweet here, 250 of 250 characters remaining. And then you can click on the button after you type your tweet to save your tweet or to broadcast your tweet, right? So that allows us to tweet. Then after that, the next block that we have, it's what's happening now. And you can see that there is an icon of a user. There are some text, which is a tweet. And then it also shows that how many times it got liked by people. And there is a like button that we can click it to like it. I think I missed that in my requirements. So that's something I missed. So it should be also in the requirement that we should be able to like or unlike a tweet. All right. So it has 10 likes and we can like it. And then I think we will be showing, like, for example, 10 tweets in this page. And then finally, we have the footer giving us, again, the URLs. You can go to home, your tweets, and following. So far, any question? Does that make sense, this interface? Okay, looks like it's all good. I'll move forward. Now let's take a look into the I don't know why the picture is cut here, but how your tweet page. So when we click on the middle button, your tweets, this is the home button. When we click on the your tweets button, it's gonna look like this. So it's gonna look like this. So I don't know. Yeah. So you have you'll be given a list of tweets that for example you submitted before, or list of my tweets if I'm logged in. If I submitted 10 tweets, broadcast 10 tweets, the 10 tweets will show up here. All right, these are my tweets. Let's go to the next page, and the next page is showing me the people that I'm following now. So you can see the first three persons: Mr. Bean, Mr. Tom, and Miss Jerry, right? And I'm following them now. That's why we have an unfollow button. Because I'm following now, I'm following them already. I can only unfollow them. I cannot refollow them. No point, right? So these are the people I'm following. And then I have a block for showing the people that I'm not following. Okay, Mr. A, Mr. B, and Mr. C, and then I can go ahead and follow them. Simple. All right. All making sense? So this is the application, web application that we are going to build. Let's move forward. Oh, very important part. Let's not forget about it. We need to allow the user to log in and register. So we'll have a page for login and register. And in the registration, it will be super simple. It will ask for the username, it will ask for the password, and repeat the password so we know that the user didn't, by mistake, enter the password that he doesn't want, right? So that's it, the registration on the right side. And once the user is registered, you can come back to the same page to log in. Using the same username and same password, user should be able to log into the system. Make sense? Which means if we deploy this application, anyone from the internet should be able to come to this page and sign up. Okay? Super simple. I'll go to the next page, next slide. It says, let's start coding. Are we ready for it?
Yeah.
Great. Let's do that. Okay, now that's a very good point. So Vipul is asking if there is a notification page, notification section on the page to show tweet updates. So Vipul, are you saying that, I mean, imagine I'm on the page, then imagine I'm on this page, then there's, if I have new tweets, it should show up that there you have 3 notification, 5 notification, and it'll refresh the page.
Yeah, so like if at all I get a tweet from someone I follow, instead of me trying to get to the people's page, I just see some kind of bell notification that one of the people I follow has actually sent a new tweet, and I can quickly be notified about it.
That is a very good feature, and I think that's.
I mean, it could be complicating the project, but yeah, I just wanted to put it out there.
To an extent, yes, but I think this is a very good feature. I'm tempted to add that, so let me add that.
Okay, thank you.
So a notification icon showing 100 tweets, new tweets, showing new tweets after the page was loaded. Make sense? Okay. This
yes, thank you.
As a bonus item. So if we have time, we'll do that. Okay, but I definitely think that this is a great. This small challenge actually will expose everyone to something new. Okay, I don't want to talk about it now, but it's going to be real cool, right? So why is new and cool is because imagine you are on the page, you are not refreshing the page, but the page is automatically updating the number of 100 tweets you have, right? So there's some kind of constant front end and back end communication needs to happen in order to know how many new tweets I have in the database, which I haven't read already. A little bit of work, but it's going to be really fun stuff. And a lot of, I mean, it will allow a lot of good learning. Okay. Okay, let's start coding. Now, in the last class, I already introduced Repl.it.com to everyone. So there may be some members in this session who know about it already, but today we can't help like working 100% on Repl.it. What is Repl.it? Let me talk about it. Repl.it, why don't we Google that, okay? Repl.it. Oh, no. Repl.it, and then let's Google that. Now you can see that Repl is a software company. It was founded in 2016. It's super duper famous for, you know, building software without setting things up. Imagine you want to set up, you want to prepare some documents like Microsoft Word, right? You want Microsoft Excel. You actually need to install Microsoft Excel or Microsoft Word on your computer first before you can use it. That's one way. The other way is, I don't know how many people are familiar with that. You can actually use Microsoft Word, the cloud version. You're familiar with that, right? The cloud version is the full-fledged Microsoft Word or Microsoft Excel. You don't have to install any software. Something like Google Doc, right? something like Google Doc. Google Doc allows you to like do similar thing like Microsoft Word, but everything happening in a browser, right? Because the browser has become super powerful. So you don't have to really install a lot of software on your computer, but it still can have the same feature. Repl.it is a collaborative browser-based IDE. IDE means integrated development environment. There are many IDEs that software developers use. An IDE is something like Microsoft Word. Microsoft Word allows you to edit documents. IDE allows you to edit your code, right? You are going to become a software developer. You need an editor that will allow you to write code in it, okay? You can use something as basic as Notepad. No one stops you from doing that. But if you want to increase your productivity, an IDE is an excellent choice. Yes, you can use VS Code as well, Igwen. Yes, you can use VS Code as well, but then you have to install VS Code. And I think this is the right way of doing it, honestly, okay? VS Code is free, it's from Microsoft. It's also a very, very famous IDE, integrated development environment, okay? Integrated development environment where you edit your code. Now, apart from VS Code, there are like WebStorm. There are many others, NetBeans, right? They are the really, really famous ones. But then you have to go ahead and install it. Some people will be using Mac. Some people will be using Windows. They will have a different installation file. Then you need to install Python on your computer, right? There's a high chance you don't have Python on your computer. So you need to install that. So that will be an involved work. And I'm not saying that we don't have to do that. We actually have to do that. So I was thinking about having, I mean, it's actually, imagine we have how many people here? I think we have around 10, 20 people, or 20, yeah, 20 participants. Everyone will have to install Python on their computer. So I thought maybe in future, we'll have a in-person session where I'll help everyone to install Python and the IDE at the same time and make sure in that session we cover it. Because I'm pretty sure that's going to be, many people will have complexities regarding Python version, regarding, you know, operating system and so on. So there's going to be a different session. But today, before we have that in-person session, we are going to use Repl.it, okay? Now, Repl is super easy. Well, all we have to do is we just go to Repl.it here. Okay, I'm already logged in. As you can see, it didn't ask me to log in. But how about I log out and show you how to log in? Okay, I'll log out first. I'll copy paste the Repl.it URL in the chat. Okay, so if possible, please click on that. And then what I'll do, on the right top corner, there is a login button. Again, we're using Repl.it because we don't have to install anything. It's a browser-based IDE, okay? So now I click on the login button in the top right corner. I can log in with Google. Or you can, if you want to sign up, you can sign up as well. I can log in with GitHub, Facebook, Google, and Apple. I'll choose Google. And then I'll use Red Hat Raptor. That's my account. All right, now I'm logged in. And it gives me a dashboard and my recent repls. And you can see that Raptor Twitter is a REPL that I already created. Okay, I will share this Repl.it to you. This one, I'll invite. So this is a basic web application. I will call. Here's the invite button, and I'll generate a link for you. I'll copy that and I'll share with you. What is going to happen if you join this link? You will see me coding. We can all together code. It's like sharing a screen. It's like sharing a dish. Now we're sharing an IDE, okay? So whatever I write, you'll be able to see there, and you can also write your own code, so we can collaborate, okay? So I shared the link in the chat. You'll have to log in first. All right, I'll give a few minutes before everyone can log in. There, it allows up to 100 users. We have 20, so we should be good. In the meantime, if you have any questions, you can ask. Anyone?
Can you share the invite in the chat?
Yeah, I shared the invite in the chat.
Oh,
I did not see it.
Okay, it's not. Okay. If you see my screen,
yes.
You can see that this URL that I'm talking about, Repl.it.com/join, and there is a code.
Not really.
Oh, it's not in the Zoom chat. Is there a different chat you're?
It should, oh, let me check what's going on.
Hasan, I think you're sending it directly to me because this is
Alright,
Repl.it.
that's my bad. Everyone in the meeting, I'm so sorry. There you go.
Here we
Now
go.
we can see it. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, I can see 1, 2, 3 people joined. Some people, someone, I mean, I think some of the members may not be able to join today because maybe you logged in from phone. That's okay. This session is recorded. You can rewatch this session and I kind of set it up. That's super easy. Actually, it's as good as easy as just clicking a few buttons to log in. All right.
Also, sorry, how are you able to get the web view to show up on the top right?
Web view to show up on the top right. So this one, okay.
Yep.
Please see that when you run it. You see that stop button here? I'll get there. But if you're curious, you see the stop button, if you see my mouse.
Yep.
There is a stop button, right? There should be a start button for you as well. Is there?
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. Or run button. Yeah. If you run button, and you can see that I can see you clicked it, and here you go. It shows welcome to Repl.it Twitter. By the way, I'll explain what's happening there. You actually ran the web application. You actually ran a web server to kind of see welcome to Repl.it Twitter. Okay.
Okay, cool. It's just that since it's the first time I'm running it, it has to install some dependencies, I suppose. So it was taking a while. Thank you.
That's possible. Yes.
Just a question for this Repl.it. It's like a open source free version. Like, is there any like a limit in terms of number of a user can log in codes at the same time?
There are 100 persons 100 people, multiplayers can join in. 100 up to 100. I think we have only 20, so that's
Sweet.
fine. Like we have 9 of 100 now. There's plenty of space. Okay.
Cool.
All right. So anyone firefighting, anyone facing any problem joining? Should we proceed? Okay, I'll proceed. All right. So now, if you see what Repl.it is, it gives us a playground, kind of work together, join together. Anyone can code here. You can write your code. I can write my code. We can collaborate and work. Okay. So that's the power of it. And this is, there is something called pair programming in software development, where 2 software engineers work together to build something. 2 software engineers work together to build something. Okay. But why do you need 2 software engineers working together? Is it not waste of time? That's actually called pair programming. All right. It's like having a co-pilot in an airplane. 2 pilots, they kind of 2 pilots work together to kind of make sure that the airplane is safe, they're doing the right thing, and so on. Because you need help from people, and you need collaboration when you're building something or doing something very critical, right? You want to make sure someone is watching over your shoulder to stop you before you make a mistake, right? This is pair programming. Now, this IDE allows you to pair program, which is a super cool feature, and I really like. All right, so let's not spend many more time about the IDE. Let's dive in. All right, a few important things inside this IDE that you must be familiar with. Okay, now on the left side, you can see there are files group, right? And it says main.py. Do you see that?
Yep.
Main.py. Now the I can close this tab. Okay, I can close, and then I can click on main.py, and you can see that. Let me just, okay. Web view. Okay, now you can see that the main.py is showing up here as a tab. Okay, now this is the file where I can write all my Python code. You may not be understanding this code. That's perfectly okay. There is a lot happening here, but we don't have to understand the inner workings of it. Okay, it's not necessary. There are some more package files, poetry.log and project.toml. You don't have to understand those. Those are for installing things that are required by the system. We don't have to go there today, but just know that this is a Python executable file. If you run, it gets executed. So let's run it together, right? Let's run it. Run. I click on the run button at the top, and you can see in my console here at the bottom, something happening. Right? Maybe I'll run it again. Okay. And I just, yeah, there you go. Now it's running. And this is what is this black screen at the bottom? This is called a console or a terminal, okay? A console is basically connected to your web server. What is web server? We come to that. A console is connected to the web server to kind of tell you what's happening, okay? Web server is nothing but at this point is the Flask. Is the Flask library. So what is Flask library? Let's go back. Let's go to our meetup page. And do you see this Flask logo here? This is the Flask library we're talking about. The Flask library is a Python library. Is a Python library that allows you to build a web application. Okay, a web application that runs on the internet. And what is a web application? A web application is something that runs on a browser. Runs on a browser. See this, meetup.com, Raptor Coder, and I'm here, right? Now here, this is basically a web, nothing but a web application. If I go to Raptor, this Repl.it is also a web application, okay? A web application is served on a web browser. All right, now we are connected to the web server. Many things can happen to the web server, right? A web server will know how many users are hitting the web server, how many people are asking for data. For example, imagine you are looking at the Facebook web server. Facebook web server is huge, it's giant. Hundreds of thousands of people are hitting the Facebook web server. And the software developers, they need to know what's happening. Imagine something wrong going on and they need to fix something. Where do we go? They go to mostly to this kind of console where it shows you logs or things that are happening. All right, so that experienced software developer can kind of decipher those information and say, okay, this is the problem, I need to fix that. Okay. All right, so this console, just know that this console is connected to the web server. Whatever happens in your code will show up in here. All right, then we have another view on the right side, which is the web view. Web view. This is actually a built-in browser for you. Whatever happens in your Flask application will show up here. Okay. So see here, I'm saying line number 7, welcome to Raptor Twitter. And here you see, welcome to Raptor Twitter. Exactly the same thing showing up. Okay, how is it showing up? We'll talk about it now. Now let's come to the main part of it, which is the main.py. You can see there's in total 10 lines of code. Okay, 10 lines of code. I'll go one by one. First thing first, let's talk about a little bit of a library. Now Python has two kind of libraries, mainly two kind of libraries. One library that is built into Python. Python cannot live without it. Like for example, like heart, lung, kidneys for us. We cannot live without it. So those are inside of us already. But apart from our body, we also need today something like phone. So this is another dependence. This is kind of dependence. I can't really live today's life without a phone. This is a super important part of us. So this is something external, and inside of it, I have something internal, right? So there is an internal library to Python. There is an external library to Python, or external dependency. Internal dependency, external dependency. Now, in the same way in Python, there are internal dependencies and external dependencies. Internal dependencies, we don't have to borrow things or buy things from outside. But external dependencies, we'll have to go and borrow it from outside. Flask is an external dependency. Flask is an external dependency. Why Flask is an external dependency? Because Python is used for many reasons. Machine learning, building, data science stuff, right? Building a desktop application, building an app, building a web application. Many people doing different things with Python. So Flask is not really a mandatory thing for everyone. Some people may need it, some people may not, right? That's why Flask is an external dependency. Whoever needs it can import it. This importing part of it is in the line number 1. I'm saying from Flask library, import Flask and request. Import Flask and request. I'm saying external library, from external library Flask, import Flask and request. Okay. Now this, from this library, just know that from this library, I'm importing Flask. This Flask, capital F, will allow you to build your Flask application. How it allows you, I don't know. And I'm telling you, you don't have to know either. Okay. You just need to know how to interact with it. It's just like iPhone. I don't know how it's built. I don't know, how the cameras are fit. I just know that if I do that, it works. Okay. And that's good enough. As an iPhone user, you know everything that you need in order to operate this. In the same way, as a Flask user, you just import the library and talk to it based on interface. How it runs the server, what is happening behind the scene, there are high chance that you will probably not need until you become too advanced that you need to edit those features. Okay, make sense? So line number 1, I'm importing Flask from Flask library, and there is another import here, request. Let's talk about request a little bit. Whenever in the text area, in the text box, I said, this is my tweet and submit, I'm sending a request to the backend to save my information. Whenever you go to Facebook and type a status and say submit or post, you're basically sending a request to the backend and saying that take this information, take this text and store it in the database. That's the request. Okay. So if you wanna allow people to interact with the web application, request is a module that you need. That's the reason line number 1, we are importing the Flask framework itself, and also we are importing request library. Make sense? Again, how Flask and request work, I don't know. I just know how to operate that. I just know how to use that. You can definitely get deeper into it and know what are the nitty-gritty details of it, but there's a high chance you don't need it. Okay. So any questions so far?
Just a couple of questions in terms of like the syntax here. I'm assuming the keyword front is where you import the Flask, the module, and the Flask with a capital F and the request are the sub entity which inside the Flask module there. So I guess you can switch the keyword like import Flask from Flask request, correct?
So yes, I mean, you are correct. So from Flask, this is the high-level library, like a wrapper. Like I'm saying from iPhone, import camera, because I want to use only camera. So imagine iPhone was a Python library. I could say from iPhone, import camera. I could say from iPhone, import microphone, because I want to use the microphone feature only. Why couldn't I, for example, import the entire iPhone instead of importing individual features of it? It's because it's just too big. It will make your application become bigger and it will be hard to manage. There is a limited resource that we have in computer available. So we need to be very careful, watchful about what we are importing and what we are requiring. In the Flask, at this point, for this application, we just need from Flask, capital Flask, which is the actual Flask framework. And then we also need the request so that we can interact with the front-end people. Does that answer the question?
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Line number 3, second line. I'm declaring a variable. We talked about variable in day 1, by the way. But I know that there are some members in this group didn't really join the first one. A variable is nothing but a bucket. Okay. In logical world, in computer world, a bucket that can hold something. In real world, a bucket can contain, for example, milk. A bucket can contain chicken, some veg. So depending on what you're keeping there, a bucket will become a veg bucket, a chicken bucket, or a milk bucket, right? So bucket can contain different kind of things inside of it. Okay. In logical world, in computer, a bucket can contain a Flask application. A big Flask application, the web server, web application, can also be put inside of a variable. Sounds weird, but that's how computers work. You can put binary information or machine code information inside a variable. This is essentially happening. This is exactly what is happening here. The app equals Flask here. You see this Flask? This Flask is what we imported from here. And we say name. We could give it any name, honestly. We could just say that Raptor. We were passing before the name of this file. I can just say Raptor, and that's okay. All right. I can say I want to create a new application. This is Flask application, and I want to name it Raptor. Great. What is just happening is that the application is created, and the handle of it is stored in the app variable or app bucket. So far, so good.
I guess my next question would be, how does that difference between when you have like a Raptor versus I think the original word was like underscore name underscore? What was the difference?
So the question is that how is it different from the older name versus the new name that I provided, right?
Yeah.
Okay. This name is used as a namespace by Flask, which is a more broader topic to cover. Okay. I mean, it kind of, so imagine your file hierarchy, right? In your computer, you may have folder, inside of a folder, you have another folder, inside of that folder, you have another folder. But a hierarchy of folder, right? Nested drives, nested directories. We all have seen nested directories, folder in a folder in a folder. When we say name of it, underscore, so name of it, this is just passing the path of this kind of reference to this file. So Flask will know in what position, in which folder directory, a folder structure it is in. It is for internal use. But for today's class, this is not super urgent because we are not doing anything fancy here. We're doing something very basic. So that relative path is not really important. We can name it whatever we want. As long as you pass a valid string or valid text, this is fine. Okay? But to answer your question, underscore name underscore allows Flask to know where in the directory or folder jungle it stays. Make sense?
Thank you.
All right. So let's go to the next item, which is app.route. Now this app.route is the application itself. You see that? App is my variable. App.route is basically saying which route the application has. What do I mean by route? Introducing too many things at a time. Take a step back. So let's see what we mean by route, okay? So let's go to our meetup page. You see this meetup page, everyone?
Yeah.
If I go meetup.com and enter, okay, it forwards me to somewhere, but meetup.com, this is the home of meetup.com. I know everyone browses. We use internet, we use browser, but we probably don't pay attention to the routes. A route is necessarily a room in the web application or in a website, okay? When someone enters your house, the default room is probably your living room, right? Where people can sit. Then you have many bedrooms. My master bedroom, / my children bedroom, / washroom, and so on, right? So in the same way, in web application world or in the website world, there are rooms, and we call those rooms as routes, okay? Now, what is the living room? The living room is nothing but your website name, after that / add a /, and this is your living room. The entrance, whenever people comes, like google.com, enter, right? That's the Google's living room. And that serves you a welcome page, right? And then you can go to these different rooms, other rooms, based on your need, but those are nothing but routes, okay? Now, when come to my house, they see things, but when people are browsing a website, when you go to /, which is the default living room, you want a welcome message maybe, right? Hey, welcome to my website. But then when you go to /contact, you probably want to see the contact information of that website, right? When you go /about us, you want to see more information about the company itself, right? So let's go back and see in the code what's happening. you can see that app.route, this is nothing but defining app.route, nothing but defining the living room. You can see that living room of it. Slash is the living room, which means whoever comes to, you see on the right side in the web view, Raptor coder, Twitter, blah, blah, blah. It just generated a random URL for me so that I can test my web application, this website. And you can see that when I hit this page, something is showing up. It's because I'm saying that app.route, this living room, which is the entrance of it, when people come here, ignore line number 7 for now. You don't have to know line number 7. Just know that this is the function. I say the return a text. A text is something that is in double quotes or single quotes. In quotes, I'm saying, welcome to Raptor Twitter. Whatever I return from here, and I'll talk about return, what return is, don't want to complicate today. Return is something just being returned from this function, okay? Whatever you return is showing up on your page. Whatever you return is showing up on your page, all right? I know there's a few things that you're not understanding now, but trust me, we'll get there as we move forward, and that will make sense, all right? So now let's change this. Welcome to Raptor Twitter to something else. Can someone give me a text? Can't think of any. Why not? It's a beautiful Sunday. Did I spell it right? All right.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful Sunday, and I'll save it. Okay, I'll stop it. I need to restart the server. This is a Flask server. After I change my code, I need to stop the server and run it again so that it has the new code. Okay, I just stopped it and I just click on run again. And I expect the server to run, and I expect my home page here to show that it's a beautiful Sunday. There you go. It may sound trivial. It may sound like silly, oh, it's just a text. But this is the beginning of a very powerful era, or is a very powerful, it allows you to do a lot of powerful things. And we have around 35 minutes left, and you'll see where we go from here, okay? So any questions so far? I'll take it as a no. All right, line number 11 is saying that app.run. So app was the web server here. And I'm saying here app.run, I'm providing a host and port. I'm basically just running my application, basically just running the application, okay? I got an application bucket. I said the application has a route, which is slash, which is my living room, right? Anyone comes to the root of my website, for example, asan.com or raptorcoder.com, nothing else after .com, that's the end of it, right? .com, that's the slash, all right? And then it just serves that it's a beautiful Sunday. And then after, okay, I am done. Can you now run my server? There you go. Line number 11 is running the server. There is a host portion of it. There is a port portion of it, which is something that we don't have to describe today. But all I'm saying is that the host is which IP address it should run on, and port is which port it should run on. We'll talk about a little bit about host and port in future, but don't want to complicate it today. At this point, just know that it's running on all the IP addresses I have available, all the interfaces, and it's running on the port 81. Now, many people will not know host and port. It may sound complicated, but it's fairly simple. It's not something that we can understand. We'll discuss about it. But for now, that's it. So how about, we can see there's a beautiful Sunday. We'll change it and just say, welcome to our home page. Okay, I changed the slash route, which is the home page of it, or the living room of it. Let's introduce a new route. How about that? Let's introduce a new route. I know I have collaborator here. Can someone introduce a new route called /contact us? Okay, one person at a time, maybe. You can do control Z to undo it. Control Z, press control and then Z. If you're on Windows, or if you're on Mac, it's command Z, command and Z. Yeah, there you go. Now you can copy this. Line number 6, 7, and 8. You can just copy that and paste that. Or you can, if you want to write, you can write as well. App.route. And then the new room or the new route that we are adding is no dot, just slash contact us. Okay. Now on a typical website, you have a home page and you have a contact us page. So we're just adding a contact us page here. All right. CONTSCT. Okay. And then you can return whatever you return in quotes will show up on this page as people go to that page. RETURN. And yeah, in double quotes, you can say that just a location, Ontario, or where, or Canada, or whatever you want. Please contact. Yeah. Right. So see the power of collaboration, right? See the power of collaboration. Like we can all code together, and we can code. We can code in different part of the pages, and we can have multiple pages where two persons can work on two different pages as well. It's super powerful tool for collaboration. All right, almost done. I'll just fix. Please don't type anymore. I'll just fix the spelling a little. I'll just make it contact. Okay, and please contact, return, please contact us. That looks awesome. All right, so I'll just save it and then I'll rerun it. Stop and run. Okay, moment of truth. Okay, we have a problem. It says that incorrect indentation problem. All right, that's a very good problem to have. Now my see the Facebook guy is seeing an error in the console, right? So see in the console on the right bottom corner, it said that I have an indentation problem. So console is something that tells you what is wrong. All right. Now Python is highly indentation based, which means that it counts the spaces. Okay. It counts the spaces. So there is a spacing problem. So what we'll do, we'll just, instead of putting a space, I'll add a tab, and that should solve the problem. Indentation we'll get to that. Okay. But just know that indentation is just adding some spaces after in a function. Now we are missing something here for sure. Can someone tell me what we are missing? Has someone noticed?
The and the no, sorry.
The def. Exactly. The def index, whoever is highlighting that is missing, right? So if function is missing, so we need to copy line number 6, 7, 8. We copied only line number 6, and we had line number 6 and 8. We missed the line number 7. So that would be the def function. I'll just write that for you. Def, and then this is the contact page, right? So we can just say contact, done. Okay. What is def? I know we didn't talk about it. We didn't learn about def. Def is nothing but defining a function. What is a function? Don't want to go there. Just for today, you know that we are defining a function. Line number 7 is a function. Line number, just a sec. And okay. And line number 11 as well is a function. I have maybe some extra space. I'll just get rid of that space. Okay, still I have an indentation problem. Let me fix that. Can you just give me, everyone just move their mouse or cursor from there so I can type? Whoever is pink and red. And purple. Yes, the name needs to be not slash contact, but let me fix that now. So now we have this, and contact is good. And okay, let me just quickly, you know what? Let me just quickly copy paste just so you save some time here. And it's gonna be slash contact, and this is gonna be contact, and then please contact us. Okay, so I just copy pasted just to save some time. So I'm just registering it out slash contact, which is a contact function, and then I'm just returning line number 13 that please contact us. All right, Now let's run it. Okay, now our server is ready. And we can see that as this server ran, we have welcome to homepage. Can we write contact us for /contact? Yes, we did that, right? Line number 12, NS. All right. So then I'll just show you one thing. On the top right corner, you can see that this open in a new tab tool. Can you see my mouse? Open in a new tab.
Yeah, we can see it.
We can click, if we click that, the whole thing opens up in a browser tab, giving you a feel that it's running a web server, right? You see that? So, and this URL, Red Hat Raptor.redhatraptor.repl.co, that's the domain, that's the host of it, like facebook.com. But this is a random URL generated for us today, which is just for test or development purposes, right? And the moment I hit this URL, you can see that it's a welcome to homepage is showing up, right? Let's add /contact, which is the new room or a new route that we added right now, right? So let's add /contact and hit enter. And you can see that it's a please contact us showing up, right? Good. Let's get rid of /contact and go back to the home page of it. And we'll see welcome to our home page, which means that we have now 2 routes successfully registered. The home page, which is the blank / and the contact us page, contact page is /contact. All good, but we are still a little bit far from our Twitter app. We are here to build, we wanted to build something like add a button and a text so that we can submit our tweet. So let's do that real quick. All right.
Where does it say contact us on the web view?
I'll open that once again for you. Okay. So I'll open this opening new tab. This is the last icon on the top right corner. Okay, there you go. This is the home page of it. Can you see that?
Yes. Where, and then where is the please contact us?
Now we'll add /contact at the end of the URL. At the end of the URL, I'm adding /contact. Okay.
Where, in the shell or?
No. Do you see the browser?
Yes.
The browser, in the browser URL. If you see my mouse.
Where is your mouse?
Here. You see that? No?
In the URL, Repl.it.com.
The browser address. Is the browser address bar. Okay. Read with me. https:// Do you read that?
I'm looking at the web view console.
Okay, no,
You
no,
can't change the URL of the web view. You have to open it in a new tab if you want to change the URL.
Okay, I thought you were looking at my screen, shared screen. I'm sharing my screen, right?
Yeah, I'm looking at the I see the shell console. I see the web view console and the main.python console, and like the files, tools. That's what I'm seeing. I don't see where your mouse is or
Homepage, the blank white screen that I'm sharing now. Are you not?
oh, you're talking about this. So back to the Zoom.
Back to the Zoom. Yes, I'm so sorry. I should have mentioned that. Back to
Okay.
the in the Zoom share Zoom screen that I'm sharing there. Okay, so how did I get there? So let me take a step back. So now if you see my Zoom sharing, on the top right corner, there is a link which is open in a new tab.
Oh, okay.
Right? I click on that, that will open a tab, open my web application in a tab. So now you see welcome to homepage, right?
Yes.
Now I go to the address bar, I'll add /contact, which is the new route we registered or new room we registered, and then hit enter. And now it says, please contact us.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Serving from that new route that we registered. Make sense?
Yes. Thank you.
Great. So let's move forward. Now, we want to introduce 3 new elements to it. We want a text box, and we want a button, and we want a form so we can submit it. Make sense? All right, what do I mean by all this? So let's decipher. Now the boring welcome to our homepage is not good enough anymore. We want to change it and we want to introduce some HTML. We are introducing some HTML. What is HTML? HTML is the language of the web. HTML is the language of the web. Whether it's Facebook, Twitter, whatever website you can talk about, they are serving HTML. Okay? HTML is a syntax or a language that browsers can understand. I can speak English, you are understanding it. You can talk, when you speak English, I can understand it. So this is a language that we all can understand for human, right? For browsers and web servers, web servers will serve HTML or speak HTML, and browser will catch it and show it as the web server requested. This language is very important so that everyone speaks something like English, while web application should speak one language instead of speaking too many languages. That's HTML. Web application will serve HTML, browser will render HTML. Okay, what HTML am I speaking about? Are we sure we have HTML? Let's take a look. Let's go to Facebook, or how about we go to our meetup, okay? And whoever uses browser can right click on the page and do inspect. You should see something like inspect or inspect element. If you click on that, that's back to my Zoom sharing, by the way, okay? If you click there, you will see a bunch of code in there. This is HTML. The web server served this HTML. You don't have to understand what this HTML is doing, but know that browser read this HTML and rendered this page nicely, beautifully for you. For us, it's so beautiful, but behind the scene, the code is really not readable. So I'll go to view. There is another way to do that. I can do right click and source, view source. There you go. I can right click and view page source, and you will see there's a lot of text here, right? This is exactly what was served by something like Flask. Okay, Flask said that render this page, and this is the code to render this page. What browser will do, take this code and render this page in a beautiful manner. Okay, this is where browser comes in. Browser is powerful in rendering the page, in showing the page. HTML is a language that browser understands. If we instruct the browser in HTML, browser will understand and render the page accordingly. Oh my God, it's complicated. It's not. Let me show you. We'll take one step at a time and things will make sense to you. Now on the home page, we don't want welcome to our homepage anymore. Instead, we want a text box. In order to show a text box, it's so easy. It's so easy that you'll be surprised if you haven't done this before. So I'll return, instead of a welcome to our homepage, I'll add a syntax something like this. Input, because I'm taking input, and the type of the input, there are multiple types of input, okay? And the type of input is text. And I want to name it as tweet. And I want to close the tag. Now, there is a weird syntax I'm introducing here. You can see that this, what do you call that? Greater than and smaller than character, right? This is smaller than, this is greater than. The arrow tag. This is the start of HTML tag. This is the start of HTML tag. You don't have to understand HTML well, but I'm just saying that this is the start of an HTML tag. We'll have a separate class on HTML, but this is super basic. Start of HTML input. I'm taking an input. The type of the input that I'm trying to render, trying to show in a browser is a text. So I'm expecting a text input. Any tweet, any Facebook update is mostly text. If you add image, that's a different story. If you add video, that's a different story. But if you're typing, that's text. So I'm input type is text. And then I want to name this field as tweet so that I can later reference that. Okay, so that I can later reference that. So that's it. Every tag needs to be closed in HTML. This is the starting, and slash with a smaller than sign is the closing tag. So this is kind of done. And the browser should be able to understand it. So now let's return this tag and run it. Stop and run. And there you go. Do you see this? And we can type something here. Hello there. How are you? Or my first tweet. Okay? Complicated? Easy? Comments? Just know that this input type text name tweet, you'll get used to it. This will give you a text box. Okay? I know you're probably the first time you're seeing this, and then it's not really making a lot of sense. But this input tag is something that we just need to memorize at this point, because we just know that browser understands this. The moment we give this to browser shows that it's text box. Okay? So this is a text box that input that allows us to enter a text. Now, how do we submit it? If you go to Facebook, there is a post button or a submit button. If you go to Twitter, there is a like click to submit button, like tweet button, right? So let me show you. Let's go to a mock once again here, the UI design. You can see that it says the UI that we are supposed to build should have what is happening, and then there is a text box that allows us to enter the text, and then there's a tweet button, right? So if you go back to our design now, here, we have the text box, but we don't have the label. Now, in order to add the label, that's super easy. You just add a text in the same way, something called label. And in between, we can say that what is happening. This will give us a label. The label tag is starting and the label tag ending. This is the start of the label tag, and this is the ending of the label tag. In between the label start and label end is the text that you want to show. So this is the text that's going to show up. All right. So label is done. Label is done. Next, we have the input text, type text, that's going to show the text box for us. Browser will take this information and it will understand what exactly we are meaning here. So let's run this and see what happens. Stop, run. There you go. Now you see that. See the label, this fancy or funny tag is not really showing up because browser it's just for the browser to understand. It took whatever it's supposed to take. What is happening? And there you go. What is happening? And then I have this input type text, and exactly there you go. My input text is showing up. But there is still one thing missing. Can someone remind me what it is? You can say that having a great session, but how do I submit it? The button is not there. So we need to add a button. Okay? How do we add a button? That's also super simple. Like text box is an input, button is also an input because it allows user to interact with the button. So it's kind of taking an input from the user. So let's add the input, another input. So input, so I'm adding another input, and this time, the type of the input, and we all know the type. What's the type? Button, exactly. Thanks, Ernest. Button, and actually, the type, there are two types of button. One is normal button, that if you click, you need to program it to do something. There is another type of button called submit. Submit button will submit everything in the form. Submit button will submit everything in the form. It's like you write a letter, put in a letter, in an envelope and submit. When you submit the envelope, everything inside the envelope also gets submitted. It's not the envelope, blank envelope. Whatever you put inside of the envelope gets submitted. So there you go. It's actually should be input type submit. And then let me close that. Okay. If I save it, stop it and rerun it. Now we'll have three elements. Number one is the label. What is happening? Number two is the text box that will allow user to enter the tweet. And then finally, we have the submit. It says submit query. I don't really like the default submit query label. I can change it to something like, I can just change the value of it, and you'll see that it will change. So I just changed the value portion of the submit button. By default, it was showing submit query, but I don't want submit query. I instead want a tweet button. So I just said that, hey, can you change the text to tweet? And for that, you just have to say value is tweet. 3 components we introduced. 3 HTML component, label for showing just a text, just a label. Then an input type text for allowing user to enter some text. Then input type submit. The only thing that I can understand you may not be liking is the HTML syntax, but this is, you will get used to it as we deal with more HTML in the future. This is just what browser understands, and that will start making sense in the future classes as we do more HTML. But for now, just know that input type text, this syntax gives you a text box, and this syntax input type submit gives you a submit button. Okay. What I don't like here is that you can see that as we are introducing new components, new HTML components, the line is becoming bigger and bigger, like the width, you know, is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, right? You see this line, how big it is? Do you think it's very readable? We could do better. We could split that into multiple lines, and that will look better. Okay, how do we split that? In order to split a single line into multi-line, there is a helper syntax from Python. Okay, what we can do, instead of one single dot, a single quote, we can add 2 more quotes, 3 quotes. With this, we now can split the text into multiple. Okay, now we can say this. Now, my first component is in label. My second one is the input type tweet, and the third one is this. And then I can just close this. So what happened here? This is exactly like before, but instead of one liner, I created multiple smaller lines. Okay, this is considered a good practice because a long line can be very unreadable for people, because we are going to do some more stuff, right? It's going to be more difficult to read. I have one extra quote here. I'll just remove that. And let's run it and see what happens. Stop and run. There will be no change because I just changed from single line to multi-line. So literally there is no change other than this, how it looks in the code. It's exactly the same thing. There is something to learn here. If there is one single line text, you can do 1 quote and 1 quote, and in between whatever is there is your text. But if you do multi-line text, it's a 3 single quote and 3 single quote at the top and single quote at the bottom. In between, whatever is there is also your text. It's a single line text. There's a multi-line text. We just converted the single line text into multi-line text. We had to add 3 quotes in the beginning and 3 quotes at the end. Any questions so far? I'll take it as a no. So let's move forward and now submit the tweet. Moment of truth. Now, in order to submit something from the front end to the back end, you need an envelope. Okay, you need an envelope. So imagine the text is whatever you wrote on a piece of paper. Okay, then you want to submit. You need to wrap this inside of an envelope. This envelope is called a form. Okay, FORM. You know, filling up a form. So you have a form, you fill up, my tweet is this, now submit. This form will allow you to submit the data to the backend. This is super easy. All you have to do is do this. In the beginning, we do form. It's a tag, it's an HTML tag that tells the browser that this information can be submitted to the backend. This information can be submitted to the backend. So we have a form, and this form, now we can say that this form has a method. I'm introducing a form tag, and the method is post. An envelope in a real life, when we take an envelope, we can just go to the post office and just post it, right? But in computer world, we can submit forms in two ways. We can do a post request or we can do a get request. We can do a post request, we can do a get request. A form can be submitted using post request or get request. Now, in here, we are making post. So I'm saying the method of my submission of my form is post. What is method post? We'll talk about it in a bit. But let's for now, just know that we have a form here. And inside of this form, I'll put all my text, label, input type text, and the submit button. And then I'll close this form like this. So I have a form here. The method is post. I close my form here. And in between my form has a submit button, my tweet itself, the text box, and just a label for a user to see. And I can just save it now. Okay. Stop and run. And there you go. Now, if we type something here, hello there, and if I say tweet, we probably see an error because we haven't, there is no one to receive the information on the back end, but it's a good symptom. It's a good error because we know things are working. Okay, so our form is ready to be submitted to the backend. Now we need to do a little bit of work to kind of take this data and show and get the information on the backend side. So far, any question?
Yes, one question. I guess I have trouble to understand how to tie that Twitter submit button to the text. Because I'm guessing because you're wrapping around with a post method there, so they tie into whatever text in that text box to the Twitter. But then I'm thinking another scenario, if there's like two text box, like two text with one Twitter button submit, how does that work? Does it mean that all the texts are in two text input get submitted, or how does it work?
Okay, so I'm trying to understand the question. So so you're saying that what if there are two text boxes instead of one?
Yeah, sure. Then how does it mean that whatever the input from these two text box will all submitted by that what when you click on the submit button?
Absolutely correct. So here, this input type text, this is the tweet that we are interested in. We are submitting this tweet, right? This is the tweet. Imagine we want to say, what is your tweet and what is your name? Imagine we want to ask two questions. What is your tweet and what is your name? Tweet is also a text box. Name is also a text box, right? Just for this scenario. So I'll just copy the tweet, input type text, input type text. So see line number 11, I have input type text, name is tweet. Line number 12, I have input type text and I can give it a name, not tweet. In this case, I can just name, what is your username? Now I have two texts that I'm submitting to the backend wrapped in a form. So I have two values that I can get in the backend. So when I submit this data, the backend will get all this information, the tweet and the username. The reason that we can get both the tweet and username because they are named differently. One is tweet, the other one is username. That's how we kind of get the tweet and the name. Okay. Now, Juan said both are sent with their name as a reference. That's correct. Both are tagged with their name. One is tweet. Here you go. One is tweet. The other one is username. Because this is how they are tagged in the backend as well. When we catch those, we'll have both information, and we'll show that see that in a bit. Let's keep both. Okay, for now, since we're talking about it, let's keep both. I'll save it. I'll stop it, and I'll rerun it. What do we expect now? We should see one label, two text boxes. The first text box is tweet, and the second text box is name. How about we maybe just add a label here as well, just a text here so people know what it is, and username. Save it. Because I have two text boxes, I have to know which one is which. So stop and run. Okay, so what is happening? I could introduce BR. Yeah, that's a good thing, Juan. Yes, definitely. So you can see that the tweet is all showing in one liner. we can tell the browser, hey, you know what? It's not looking good. Can I just add some breaks here, like line breaks? Okay. Can you add some line breaks? So let's do that. This is super easy. You can just do BR break. BR stands for break. And then after tweet, maybe want another BR. And after this, we can add it. So we have 3 line breaks now. Stop and run. BR stands for break. It just gives you a new line, and you can see that what is happening, and what is your tweet, what is your username, and then we can tweet. All right, I introduced a little bit.
And that goes to the that goes to the form when you press tweet, or
why does it go to the form? Because you can see the line number 9 is the start of a form. Line number 17 is the end of the form. In between, I have all the text boxes. That's why when the form itself is submitted, it submits with all the information that it has inside. Okay, because the form has the tags inside of it. When the form is submitted, everything inside of it will get submitted as well. Okay.
so when you input in the tweet box, it goes to the form when you click the button tweet.
Exactly, that's correct.
Okay, all right.
So now, if any further question before I move to the next step? I'll take it as a no. All right, now I have an envelope. When I submit the envelope, who receives the envelope? I need to go to the post office, right? And submit the envelope. So I need to submit it as at a specific location. Okay. So that's the location that we need to register now. It's just a route. Okay. We can imagine we call it a post office. So let's register something called / line number 21 post office. So we have something called post office / post office. Now we can also say that this post office actually takes methods, and we can say that it takes method is post. Okay. Why do we need to specify this? I did nothing new here. App.route is / post office. We all know that when we slash a route / something, there is a new route registered or new room registered with this / post office. This is something that we have done already. But what we have introduced here new is the methods that it accepts. Because this is a post office, I mean, this post office is supposed to receive some post. I say, hey, your method is post. There is one more method which is called get. We'll talk about it some other day. But today we are only dealing with post. Post is used in order to receive post from data. So if one is submitting a post with a data, we can receive the data using method post. That's why I told him that, hey, you are post office, yes, but accept a method post. And if you see the line number 9, form method is post, they are matching. They are matching. If the case is confusing, I'll just make it capital as well. All right. So this form is sending a post. This URL, this route is receiving the post. Okay. And I'll also say that your action, where to send it, send it to / post office. Okay. So now I said that your method is post and send it to / post office. And here in the route I registered, your name is / post and accept a post / post office, accept as post method from someone, whoever is sending it. So I have the form set, I have the receiver set here. Questions? A few more things before we
sorry, what difference does that make?
exactly which one?
The post.
This post here?
Yes.
Okay. I'll quickly talk about it. A post means that the data is in a request body, or a post is, let's keep it this way. A post means that the data is in a box and no one can see it. This is hidden. If in a post method, when you submit a form as a post method, the data is in a box and no one can see it. It's kind of in a secured box. When we change the method from post to get, the data is not hidden. It's there in the URL. Everyone can see it. Okay. Now, if you want to change something, the question to ask, why do we need post and why do we need get? If you want to change something on the server side, the method should be post. If you want to secure the data, the method should be post. But if you don't want to save something on the server side, and if you're not securing anything, in that case, a get is good enough. Okay, a get is good enough. And have you seen, for example, let me go here. See this. If you see my Zoom shared screen, okay? I'm highlighting here something in the URL. Suggested is true, source is events. Do you see that? This part. Suggested is true and source is event. This is showing up because the data went through a GET request. So everything shows up in the URL. But if it was a post, you wouldn't see anything. For example, when you log into a system, do you want the username and password to be shown in the URL? I don't think that's a good idea, right? When you submit a form with your username and password, it should be a post request because that needs to be secure. So whenever you need security or whenever you need, when to change something on the server side, it should be a post request. If you are not changing anything on the server side, that's a GET request. A good example of a GET request is a Google query, Google search. When you search, for example, places to visit in Canada, if you go and Google that, do you think it's changing on the server side or just retrieving some information from the server? You just went to the Google and you typed good places to visit in Canada and you search. What happens? It basically gets good places for you and shows you. Nothing changes on the server. You're not logging into the system. You're not posting a tweet. You're not saving anything. You're just getting some. You're just asking for some information. This kind of ask get request is good. It's a get request. Okay, go get this data. Go get that data. For example, get me the first 10 tweets. Get me the first 10 popular websites. These are all get requests. Okay, but if you are changing something on the server side, like typing a tweet and submitting, this is actually going to the server and getting stored in the database. This is where you need a post request. Now, coming back to our scenario, we have a tweet. What is happening? We have a tweet text box and we have a username. Now, end of the day, we want to store this data in the backend, yes or no? When you're submitting a tweet, we want to store it in the database. That's why it should be a post request. Making sense?
Yep.
And
Yes.
it may not 100% make sense because get request, post request, these things are new to you, right? You may not have been dealing with. You never saw a get request, the pros and cons of it, but that requires a separate discussion. And this is why we have this session. We'll talk about the more post request and get request. We'll need get request too, and we'll talk about it in the future classes. But for now, just know that we are using post request for this class. Let's move forward. Now, we know that when we submit the data, okay, when we submit the data, let's see what happens. We say, hello there, and my name is Hassan, okay? Then let me tweet that. Now, if we send the tweet, where do you think the data will go? Which
Nowhere.
To the post office page.
post office? See that. The action is /post office. The action defines where is the data going. And the action is coming here, /post office. And the method of it is post. So now if you just submit that, you will see, please contact us, which is funny because we didn't change it, but we should still see /contact us. So let's submit that. Oh, method not allowed. Did I not restart? Let me restart it. Okay. All right. So hello there, and awesome. All right, let me tweet that. And there you go. It says it went to /post office, and you can see that please contact us. This text is showing up, which means that we essentially, we submitted this form and we hit this URL, right? That's the proof because it shows, please contact us. And also we're sending post and this is receiving post. So guaranteed that our data is getting submitted because we are seeing signs that the return line number 23 is getting executed. Please contact us and please contact us. Now, one last thing. I want to get the tweet that was submitted and say that I received the tweet successfully. Make sense? How do we now, someone was asking, how do we now access the name and the username that the user submitted in a form? That's actually super easy. Okay, super easy. Let me show you. Here in the contact function, okay, all we have to do is remember the buckets. Take a bucket and put the information inside of it. Okay, then the first thing is tweet. I take a tweet bucket or a tweet variable and say that tweet variable is whatever is submitted by the request, whatever is submitted by request dot form. Request had a form, right? We submitted a form, and I'm explicitly looking for inside the form something called tweet. This thing, this text box. I named it as tweet. So request.form and this square brace syntax will know what this is in the future class. But for now, you know that you can do form tweet. Yes, you can, Juan, you can do that as well. I can use your way as well, but this will also work because this is a dictionary. Okay, so we can do .get. Juan was suggesting TWWT. There you go. So this way, now we'll have access to the tweet that was sent here. I can do the same thing. I can do the same thing for the next one, which is what? Username, right? And then I can say the request dot the form that was submitted. From there, get the username. And I know many people is not used to the syntax request.form.get. Oh my God, so much. But it's basically, if you think from rational perspective, I got a request. So there you go, the handle to the request. Request as a form because the form was submitted, request.form. And then from the form, I want to get the tweet only. There you go, get tweet. Then request.form.get username. And then I took the tweet and username and stored that in a bucket, which is tweet bucket and a username bucket. I could name them anything. I could name them A or B. That would also work. Okay, but I just give them a name that is understandable, right? Tweet and username. Then when we return, let me return this. Successfully received tweet plus tweet plus username plus his username. So basically what I said is that return my text successfully received plus tweet is whatever the tweet variable is here, whatever is user sent, and the username I received was whatever the username variable here. Okay, and it should show this text when we next time submit. So let me stop that and run that again. Okay, and the tweet will be good morning, Raptor coders. And the username would be, my name is Assam, so I'll just put Assam, okay? So there you go. Moment of truth. Woohoo! Deserves a clap. Successfully received tweet, good morning, Raptor coders. And the username was Assam. All right, why don't you play a little, maybe just click this button here on the top right corner, open in a new tab, and try it out by yourself. Okay, I could put another tweet now. Let's call Canada is beautiful and is going from Raptor. All right, let's tweet that. There you go. Successfully received Canada is beautiful. Username is Raptor. No, I wouldn't get a, thanks for asking, Juan. I wouldn't get a error if we use that. That's just other way of accessing the data. Okay, we could do that as well. So let's try it out. So that'd be, this is just the other syntax, and this is accessing dictionary, something called dictionary in Python. Dictionary will be covered hopefully in the next class. Okay, I just wanted to get something started and you know, and not make it really boring today by just talking about the internals you know, of Python. But in the next class, it will be time for us to learn some serious Python features like dictionary, list, etc. So I just changed the syntax a little bit. It will do actually the same thing. It shouldn't change the behavior, but let's test it out. Okay. Now the tweet will be hello world this time, and the name is Ahsan. Okay, so let's change that tweet, and there you go. Successfully received tweet hello world, and username is Ahsan. So it's exactly the same. I personally like the get syntax that Juan was suggesting. I like get syntax, but this syntax also works. I know we covered a lot of ground today. It may be a little bit confusing, maybe a little too much for some of the members, but trust me, we really learned a lot of awesome features today. We learned, just to summarize a little, we learned some Flask. We learned that Flask is a Python library that allows us to build web servers, right? We learned that route allows us to register a route or a path that we can access, and that serves a different page, right? It's like / for homepage, / contact us for contact us page, / about us plus about us page. Now you can actually build a website where you have 3-4 routes and it's serving different data, right? You can actually do that using Flask. And you have the URL. You can play around with this this code base and see it for yourself. Experiment. I would highly encourage that you experiment with this and break it, rebuild it, and that's how we learn. Okay. Then we also learned about text box. How to show a text box. Input type text is an HTML syntax that shows a text box on a browser. We learned about input type submit that allows us to submit a form. And if we wrap this information in a form, you can actually submit the data to the server, which is a really, really important feature in web application. How do we send the data from browser to the actual server? We use a form, okay? Now form has 2 methods. One is get, one is post. We didn't talk about get too much today, but we use post. And we know if you want to change something on a server side, you should use post. If you want to secure your data, you should use post. And then we added an action that, hey, when the data is submitted, send it to this data, this endpoint / post office. And there you go. We have the app router here, which says that I'm post office and I receive post methods. And we send the data to this function. We got the form data from request.form.tweet to get the tweet, request.form.username to get the username. And I'm just returning the data. Like, hey, successfully received the data, your tweet is this, your username is this. You basically did a front end and back end communication. You basically submitted, build a web page, built a form, submit the data to the back end, receive the data, and then now you're showing the data back to the user that has successfully received your data. Imagine a contact us page. Have you ever been to a contact us page on a website where it says that your name, your phone number, and your query and submit? You can build that now. All right, so 16 minutes over. Any question we need to?
What is the IP address showing in the shell? Because it's like, what is this showing in the shell?
Okay, now you see, you're talking about these 3 if you're seeing my screen on Zoom?
Yes.
Okay, okay, now see that there are 3 IP addresses, right?
Yes.
000, 127.0.0.1, and 172 blah, 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 right?
Yes.
Okay, it's a little bit networking here, but I'll quickly tell you. A computer can have multiple IP addresses or network interfaces. Okay, what is a network interface? In order to communicate with the internet, you need a network interface, like a network card. Okay.
Yeah. So is this subnet mask, and then one is gateway, or?
No. This is the IP address 127.0.0.1. Every computer has it. This is a local host. Okay. And then we have 1 to 7. This is the other interface. And this is the all the 0.0.0.0 means that all the interfaces. Now you can see that our application is hosting on 0.0.0.0, which means that all the interfaces will be able to access this web server. Okay, and we can definitely talk about it a little more in further detail now in interacting class. We'll keep a network basics of networks just to understand if anyone has a question. But for now, know that 0.0.0.0 means that all the IP addresses that are available in the computer. I can see very well that this computer where the server is hosted has 2 interfaces at least, or 3 rather, 00, 127, and 172. Okay, and there may be a computer that have 5 interfaces. Your computer may have like 2 or 1. Okay. All right, a little bit left before we jump to the question and answer session. I know we are above the time recorded. What is happening the next event? Okay, what is happening next event? We built a demo of a Twitter listing page. Do you remember the listing page? We could try to build the your tweets listing page. Okay, and just get a feel of it. Okay, I don't know how much we can go, but we can give it a shot and see how the listing page can behave. We'll also introduce loops showing multiple tweets in a page. We will introduce loops. There are 2 kind of loop, mainly for loop and while loop. Loop allows you to do the repeated work, some automate some boring work. Like if you have like same thing getting repeated multiple times, Python allows you to like do that in a loop fashion, where you like write a loop and it allow it to do like loop through the code multiple times, essentially like printing or doing something multiple times. That's super easy. That's not complicated. That's a very, very critical and important feature of software development. And we also talk about the dictionaries, right? Dictionaries. We already got a sense of dictionary today. We'll talk about dictionaries and list. The request.form.get. Remember that syntax? That's actually a dictionary. Okay, but we'll talk about dictionary in further details in the next class. We'll also talk about list. Okay, it's going to be a little more Python syntax in the next class, and also a little bit of web development. Hopefully, we can cover everything. And thank you, everyone. I would like to ask if you have any question. There will be. I'm happy to take questions if you have any. And please feel free to add some comments if I was going too fast, too slow. If there is something that I can improve, I'll be really glad if you provide some feedback.
Is where we can get this recording for this class?
Where you can get the next class information?
No, the recording for this class. For each past class, like I think I missed it.
I will share that in the chat.
Okay.
Okay. And you should be able to click there and able to access, and that should be available for a few weeks at least.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, Juan. So I'll okay. So how do I get invited into the collaborative Repl.it? Okay, so let me just do that. I think I shared the URL already. I'll share that once again with you. All right. If you have any question, please ask. If not, I highly recommend that you provide a review of today's class. What you liked, and provide, like, is it 3-star, 5-star, whatever you think it is. I'm really glad if you do that. If you provide some feedback that allows me to improve my next classes and takes care of stuff that I may have missed in this class. Thanks, everyone. So any questions? Thanks, Vipul. So I hope you understood all the concepts. And if there is no further question, then hope to see you in the next class. So our next class will be, I'll Our next class will be, I think, in April 4. Let me see. Yeah, there you go. 2nd April. Okay. Please RSVP to that so you don't miss it. And I hope to see you all in the next class. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend. Have a great Sunday. Thanks for joining. Bye.